So we have our four poses, and now really all we have to do is cycle through. But you want to make sure that these four poses are kind of correct. And it's hard to see now, but we'll do kind of a copy of this and we'll see how it looks. So now let's move to the next section. We'll go to frame 41. Now here, what's nice is we don't have to repose our character. We're just going to use the old poses and then we'll flip them. So this is going to be at 41, but I'm going to go back to frame 1 and I'm going to go to my pose menu. I'm going to copy the pose, or you can hit Command C. And then I'm going to go back to 41. And here I'm going to pose the figure, and I'm just going to flip it. So up at the pose menu, paste, pose, flipped. And hopefully this should be the same pose as you started with, contact, except now the opposite. I'm going to keyframe this, and then we can see if it worked. So let's just go on our timeline. Again, here in this case, we have our right arm forward, left foot forward, and we're going to go and hopefully they complete the cycle. And now we have the opposite. The right foot is forward and the left arm is forward. So opposite of where we started, and then we can just continue doing that. So now frame 11, I'm going to copy this. Again, this is down, so this will get pasted at 51. Again, you want to go pose, and then paste, pose, flipped. And then I'll hit I to keyframe. And again, if you go back to the last pose, it shouldn't be too large of a change. And then we'll go to the third keyframe, which was passing. I'm going to copy that. This will get pasted at 61. Again, we want to paste the flipped version and then keyframe. And then the last one is up. Again, copy. Go to 71. And then paste, pose, flipped, keyframe. Now you should have the full cycle. Let's press play to see it in action. And there you go. So right now we have kind of one step and then the second step. And then in order to finish that second step, we really just go back to that first frame. So all we have to do is copy these frames again. So select them. You can just make a big box. Again, they're selected when they're orange. And you can just press Shift D to duplicate all of those, and then you should be able to move those. And I'm going to move this to 81. And now we have 2 whole cycles of this, and it should work. There you go. And then we're going to just do this one more time, just so we can fill this whole thing out. Now I'll select all of those keyframes. Again, Shift D to duplicate, move those. Keep the same distance here. We're going to go to 161. And then that goes beyond our timeline, so we don't even need to do any more. And now we have a good amount of walking, about 2 seconds or so. Now we can go in and actually make our figure move. And so to do that, we're gonna try to make this a little easier. I don't need these 2 windows anymore, so I'm just gonna go back to 1. And so what we want to do is go back and take a look at where our figure is. Right now we have all of our keyframes. They are on the armature. We could use that same thing to move him, but to make it easier to kind of deal with, what we'll do is we'll add an empty. So I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to add an empty. What this is going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to just focus on this empty in terms of moving the character. So I will just call this figure. And that's going to be what I parent the armature to. So I'm going to select the armature in object mode. I'll select the empty, and then I'm going to parent the object. So now I can just move that empty, and that's going to move the whole thing. And the reason I want to do that is that I can just worry about the location of this empty at frame 1. I can set that, so I'll add a keyframe here. Depending on how long you want this, I'll just go to the end here. And then I will move the figure. Now you don't want to go too far because otherwise it'll look wrong. So I'm just going to go a little bit forward. I'll add the keyframe. Again, just keep it simple, 2 keyframes. One at the start, one at the end. And then you can press play to see if it moves at a generally good speed. And it does. If I had to adjust, I could just go to the last keyframe and I could adjust it either farther or closer and then just re-keyframe it to get what I need. I think I'm okay with the distance here. You don't want it to skate or to look like he's walking on a treadmill, but I think the distance is good here. What I do want to do though is I want to change the interpolation mode, because right now when we press play it kind of starts slow and then it speeds up and then it ends slow. Again, what we want to do is we're going to change to our graph editor, and again this makes it easy too because we're just dealing with this this empty. So here's our graph, and I can just worry about this. Now you do want to, so here's our object. Again, we're just working location. So this is this green line, just so we can just deal with this. Here's what I'm going to do. There are, again, 2 points. You can select them both on this graph. And then we're going to change under key, interpolation mode, linear. Now that's a straight line. And now when I go back to my timeline, and we press play, it should move a little more normally. And we got a good walk. And that's it.